Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next hour, India's aviation sector to get a big boost. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Spanish President Pedro Sanchez will inaugurate the C-295 aircraft plant in Gujarat, Vadodara. Prime Minister Narendra Modi urges people to make India a global animation powerhouse. Also warns the nation against the danger of digital arrest fraud. Netanyahu says Israel's strikes hit Iran's defense and missile production capabilities hard. Iran's Khamenei says Israel's attack should neither be downplayed nor exaggerated. And setback for Japan and its new Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, the country's scandal-hit ruling party falls short of a majority for the first time since 2009. And China's industrial profits plunge in September, recording the steepest monthly decline in 2024. Earnings too slip. First up, Israel has said that its recent airstrikes on Iran were driven by national interests, not US influence, describing them as precise and successful. This follows claims from Iranian officials that the US was involved in the Israeli attacks. Meanwhile, airstrikes continue in southern Lebanon, leading civilians to flee towards the Syrian border amid escalating tensions with the Hezbollah.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel selected its targets in Iran based on national interests rather than being dictated by the United States. Netanyahu described the recent airstrikes as precise, powerful and successful in achieving all their objectives.
In
the early morning hours of Saturday, we fulfilled our promise. The Air Force attacked throughout Iran. We hit hard Iran's defense capabilities and its ability to produce missiles that are aimed at us. The attack in Iran was precise and powerful and achieved all of its objectives.
This comes in response to claims that Israel refrained from attacking Iranian gas and oil facilities and nuclear sites due to US pressure. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi claimed the United States was involved in the overnight Israeli attack on Iran.
America is fully behind the Zionist regime and is a partner in all its crimes. In the operation on the night before last night, just as the statement of the General Staff of the government declared, the participation of the Americans was completely clear to us. At least it is that they provided an air corridor to the Zionist Air Force.
Israel launched a series of airstrikes on Iran on early Saturday, targeting military sites in retaliation for a ballistic missile attack by Iran on October 1st, during which nearly 200 missiles were fired at Israel. Iran downplayed the impact of Israel's retaliatory strikes, claiming they caused little damage. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei urged officials to determine how to demonstrate the country's strength to Israel.
Well, they made a mistake. Israel, of course, exaggerated. Their exaggeration is wrong, but note that downplaying it is also wrong. Saying no, there was nothing, it was not important, and this is also wrong.
Meanwhile, Israel has continued airstrikes in South Lebanon, including the Bekaa Valley and Sidon. On Sunday, people were seen carrying their belongings as they walked towards the border from Lebanon to Syria amid ongoing hostilities between Israel and Hezbollah. Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's not talk about this further because there is another cycle of violence and escalation that is feared will now be triggered off with the latest Israeli attack and the kind of response that Iran has given to it, verbal so far. But is there more to follow is what we'll talk about with Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, former senior diplomat. Good evening to you, Ambassador Dayal. What do you make of the prospects of a further escalation, although there are a lot of countries, including the US, which is suspected to be involved in the latest Israeli attack against Iran, which is saying that there should not be any further escalation?
Well, thanks for having me on your show. I think that these remarks by Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, are very interesting because they clearly indicate that he's not suggesting an immediate military response. Rather, as he said, he wants his officials to weigh the pros and cons of Iran's options. So I think his remarks are an indication that he doesn't want the recent Israeli attack to lead to an automatic escalation of the conflict. And very significantly, he said that the evil committed by the Zionist regime should neither be downplayed nor exaggerated, which means that people should not start jumping to conclusions. But he said that effectively, good judgment needs to be exercised.
Because that to me suggests that there will be a well thought out, calibrated response like it was in the previous case as well.
Yes, I think very significantly he said that the way forward should be determined by the officials, that is to say the government, and they have to decide what is in the best interest of the people and the country. And decisions should be made on that basis. Now, I don't think these are inflammatory remarks. Clearly, he conveys that if Iran's officials think that an escalation is not in the people's interest or in the country's interest, it should be avoided. So I think the biggest takeaway from his remarks is that he wants caution, not recklessness. And he's also conveying that Iranian officials should not come under any sort of pressure to counterattack. Now, I may mention that a debate is going on inside Iran on what should be the country's response to these recent Israeli attacks. And there are some in Iran who feel that the Israeli attacks warrant a military response, for otherwise Iran would be seen as weak if it doesn't do anything. Some others feel that Israeli attacks were rather limited and that they didn't cause too much damage, as the government has said. And for this reason, they don't merit a strong Iranian response. And these people feel that an Iranian counterattack could lead to further escalation, and that the damage then would be caused by another Israeli attack would be much, much more than the one caused by the recent one. So they want Iran to take into account this possibility, and they feel that an escalation of the conflict would also have very adverse effects on its economy. Now, I want to mention one more thing, that Khamenei's remarks regarding the recent Israeli attack on Iran are much more cautious than what he had said earlier about some other Israeli attacks. For example, in regard to the killing of Hamas's political leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran on 31st July this year, Khamenei had promised harsh punishment. Again, you know, when on 27 September, a month ago, the Hezbollah leader, Hassan Nasrallah, had been killed, Khamenei had said that that killing would not go unavenged.
Yes.
So by comparison, his remarks about Israel's recent attacks on Iran are much more tempered. And
but he's also in the same set of comments, he's also said that Israel has misunderstood Iran and it will be made to understand what Iran really means when it says that it has a right to defend itself and all that.
You know, Israel wants an escalation. Israel is much stronger, and Israel also knows that in the event of an escalation, the United States could join Israel's side. So it feels that since it is so much stronger, it is better placed to handle an escalation, and it would rather be in that situation where it attacks Israel.
Do you think that even in his statement today after the attack, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he said that the attack was precise and very effective, but did he also imply the involvement of the US?
Well, I don't know that, because frankly, this level of attack can be carried out by the Israelis directly. I don't think they need the assistance of the United States at this stage. But, and this is a fundamental but, if the conflict escalates, then certainly they may need the United States to come on their side and fight alongside them, because they would like to annihilate Iran. And that wouldn't be possible if they were to do it themselves. They would certainly need more military capability, which could be provided by the US involvement in such a war.
And what do you make about the constituency of peace? Because what's happened now has once again given them an opportunity to raise their voice in the favor of, again, ceasefire and cessation of hostilities. Now, Iran has called a meeting of the Security Council. There's a Doha peace process which seems to be getting another lease of life, although how long will that lease of life last? No one knows.
You know, alongside these calls by the constituencies of peace, we must note that very, very sizable attacks, very significant attacks were carried out by Israel against Hezbollah positions today.
Yes.
And these caused significant damage. So why I'm saying it is that while there is a realization that an escalation of the conflict would be very, very costly for everybody. For instance, the prices of Brent crude could go up. Then, for instance, as far as workers from India are concerned, if there's an escalation of the conflict and if there's a widening of the conflict area, then our expatriate workers could be impacted also. So there are heavy costs for everybody. And that is why there are calls for peace. But it is for Israel to decide how much it wants to escalate. I think Iran has sent the right signal that it doesn't want an escalation at this stage, and that the supreme leader saying that the government should decide, or rather the officials should decide, shows that he is not asking his government to come under pressure to escalate. He wants all options to be considered, particularly keeping in view what are the interests of the people and the country, as he very directly put it.
Okay, so a cogitative response, and perhaps the cogitation could continue till the time we get an election result in the US. We don't know about that, but thank you so much for joining us, Ambassador Prabhadea. Now, the President of the Government of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, is comes on a 3-day official visit to India beginning tonight. Now, during this visit, Sanchez will hold delegation-level talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two leaders will inaugurate the final assembly line plant of C-295 aircraft at Vadodara, a flagship Make in India initiative in the aviation sector, which is being set up by Tata Advanced Systems in collaboration with Airbus Spain. More in this report.
At the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, President of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, will pay an official visit to India from 27 to 29 October.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Spanish President Pedro Sanchez will be in the cultural heritage city of Vadodara in the state of Gujarat, wherein they will be jointly inaugurating the aircraft complex of Tata, which is set up for the manufacturing of C-295 aircrafts, which is at the Tata Advanced Systems Limited campus in Vadodara. Both the leaders will be holding delegation-level talks at the Lakshmi Vilas Palace, which depicts the culture and heritage of the city of Vadodara. Both the leaders will also be getting a warm cultural welcome by the citizens here, and a number of MOUs are also expected to be signed on this visit. This visit is the first of President Sanchez to India and a first by any Spanish president in 18 years. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Sanchez have met a number of times on the sidelines of multilateral meetings, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi did also visit Spain in 2017.
The final assembly line plant of C-295 aircraft at Vadodara is a flagship Make in India initiative in the aviation sector, which is being set up by Tata Advanced Systems in collaboration with Airbus Spain.
In September 2021, the Ministry of Defence signed a contract with Airbus Defence and Space Spain for the supply of 56 C-295 aircrafts. Of these 56 aircrafts, 16 were to be brought from Spain in flyaway condition, but 40 are to be manufactured in India. Of the 16 aircrafts that were to be brought from Spain, quite a few of them have already come to India, of which 295 aircrafts have been already inducted in the Indian Air Force 11th Squadron at Vadodara. And when we look at this facility, the TASL facility, the C-295 aircraft will be a very reliable and highly versatile tactical transporter that will be serving the Indian Air Force on various occasions and definitely will be fulfilling the mission of India turning to Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is a self-reliant India.
President Sanchez will also visit Mumbai, where he will interact with trade and industry leaders and the film industry. The visit will act as a review of bilateral cooperation across various sectors, including trade and investment, IT, innovation, infrastructure, renewable energy, defense and security, pharma, agrotech and biotech, culture and tourism. Meghna Dev's report for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Ruling Georgian Dream Party wins the election in the former Soviet constituent, but the opposition terms the outcome falsified. Bulgaria goes to polls for the 7th time in less than 4 years.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Georgia is moving towards political turmoil with the ruling party declaring victory in parliamentary elections, which has been decried by the opposition as falsified. The European Union has warned that this vote, seen as a crucial test of democracy in the Caucasus country, will be crucial in charting the future trajectory of Tbilisi's chances of joining the bloc. The next report examines in detail about what is happening in the Georgian elections.
Georgia's ruling party, Georgian Dream, has won a decisive victory in the parliamentary election with over 54% of the votes. This outcome deals a blow to pro-Western factions who saw the election as a pivotal chance between strengthening ties with Russia and accelerating integration with the European Union.
I want to express great gratitude to our beloved voters who have been following us sincerely and with such loyalty.
However, opposition leaders have contested the results, alleging falsification and refusing to recognize the outcome.
We are convinced and we are certain that this is due to election fraud, and therefore Unity National Movement does not accept these falsified election results.
Reactions are divided between Georgians who want to either keep protesting or leave this country.
Everyone is thinking about two versions, either to keep protesting and protesting, or just like Belarusians did, leave this country and start a new life somewhere else.
Our European aspirations and moving towards the West will be under big question now, despite that the ruling party says that they will manage everything, so we don't believe it.
Meanwhile, international election monitors from the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe report procedural inconsistencies and intimidation and pressure on voters in the Georgian parliamentary elections.
Election days was generally procedurally well organized and administered in an orderly manner, but marked by a tense environment with frequent compromise on vote secrecy and several procedural inconsistencies, as well as report of intimidation and pressures on voters that negatively impacted public trust.
Georgia has plunged into political turmoil after the ruling party declared victory in parliamentary elections, decried by the opposition as falsified. The European Union had warned that Saturday's vote would determine Tbilisi's chances of joining the bloc. The result sets the stage for a political showdown that analysts warn could derail Georgia's European aspirations. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, three countries, Bulgaria, Lithuania and Uruguay, voted on Sunday in a hope for a stable government. Bulgaria has been plagued by short-lived government since 2020 when anti-graft protests helped to end the GERB party. Now, in Lithuania, the Conservative governing party still in contention despite first-round gains for the left-leaning opposition. And in Uruguay, 2.7 million voters went for polls to pick a new president in the race, pitting an incumbent Conservative coalition against a centre-left alliance.
2024 is an extraordinary year of global elections. Half of the global population are voting in their elections. On Sunday, voting took place in many countries, including Japan, Bulgaria, Lithuania and South America's Uruguay. In Bulgaria, with dim hope of an end to political turmoil, voting was held for the seventh time in more than 3 years. The European Union's poorest member state has been at a standstill since 2020, when massive anti-corruption protests brought down the three-time Prime Minister, Boyko Borisov. Borisov's GERB party once again looks set to top Sunday's vote.
Throughout this election campaign, I went to all the regional cities, lots of villages. People want a government. They want security and stability. We have not only showed what we have done, we have also said what we are going to do and how we will make it happen.
Bulgaria needs a period of stable, well-functioning government to accelerate the flow of EU funds into its creaking infrastructure and nudge it towards adoption of the euro. Another European Union country, Lithuania, voted in the second round of its general election on Sunday. 2 weeks ago, the Social Democratic Party won the most number of seats in the first round of voting. If the left-leaning Social Democrats succeed in forming a government, they are expected to maintain Lithuania's hawkish stance against Russia.
I vote for a candidate who has a clear outlook on values, on Lithuania's future, but more generally, I should speak about what ruling coalition we will have, because it's up to it to take responsibility for the country's decision.
In South America, voters in Uruguay cast their ballots on Sunday in a presidential race that's being overshadowed by a contentious pension overhaul. The election race is between moderates that defies regional trends of bitter division and democratic erosion.
I see the future as having several mini governments, a government of industry, a government of science. Why? Because it is impossible to summarize in 80 or 100% the diversity of knowledge that technology is imposing.
Polls show security topping the concerns of voters in the tiny country of 3.4 million people, which has faced an increase in drug-related violence in recent years. Aman Kumar Himanshu's report for DD India.
Down to the US, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are locked in a dead heat for the popular vote in the race to the White House. Both are virtually carrying out house-to-house hunt for final voters, trying hard to woo them to get the lead in the final results. Star campaigners too have jumped into the fray. Donald Trump has hit back at superstar singer Beyonce after she took to the stage at a rally for Kamala Harris in Houston on Friday, while US President Joe Biden has attacked Elon Musk as well. Take a look.
With less than 10 days to go for polls, Republican and Democrat candidates Donald Trump and Kamala Harris have sharpened their attacks against each other. The issues range from immigration, employment, health, tax, and Middle East tension. Kamala Harris and Trump also leaned on star power to drive voter enthusiasm ahead of polls. Superstar singer Beyonce took the stage at a rally for Kamala Harris in Houston on Friday. Donald Trump hit back at Beyonce for her endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris during her rally in Texas.
And we don't have Beyonce, who couldn't fill the arena last night, but the people went there because they thought they were going to hear Beyonce sing, right? So what happened is the crowd came because they thought she was going to sing. Then she turned around, she left.
Former US First Lady Michelle Obama on Saturday warned in Michigan that a vote for Donald Trump was a vote against women's health.
So please, do not hand our fates over to the likes of Trump, who knows nothing about us, who has shown deep contempt for us. Because a vote for him is a vote against us, against our health, against our worth.
Conflict in the Middle East also weighed on the US presidential campaign. In Michigan, Harris and Trump are battling for voters that include an Arab American and Muslim population who are concerned about Israel's bombardment of Gaza.
Kamala is also in total freefall with the Arab and Muslim population in Michigan. She's in a freefall. She said their jobs overseas, brought crime to their cities, and tonight in the Middle East, it's like a tinderbox. It's ready to explode. People are being killed at levels that we've never seen before.
US President Joe Biden attended a Get Out the Vote event in Pittsburgh to support Kamala Harris. Biden hit out at Trump's supporter Elon Musk, saying Musk was an illegal worker when he began US career.
Well, that wealthiest man in the world turned out to be a legal worker here when he was here. Oh, I'm serious. He was supposed to be in school when he came on a student visa. He wasn't in school. He was violating the law. And he's talking about all these illegals coming our way.
Harris is leading Trump nationally by a marginal 46 to 43%, a recent Reuters poll showed. According to opinion poll aggregator 538, Harris leads by even less, 47.6 to 47.1% in Michigan. Meanwhile, early in-person voting was held in Los Angeles, California, allowing voters to cast early machine votes for the presidential election. So far, more than 38 million people have already cast early ballots in United States. Fuzel Ahmed, DD India.
Japan's ruling party has missed out on a parliamentary majority for the first time since 2009, a result that strikes a blow to new Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. The snap poll was called in early October following a party slush fund scandal that led to the resignation of Fumio Kishida and Ishiba's narrow election to the party's leadership. Voters in the world's fourth largest economy have been rankled by rising prices as well. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Our expert will be telling us about what are the security challenges in Pakistan, particularly in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which is having a lot of terror strikes this year. Passenger terminal and a cargo gate unveiled at India-Bangladesh land border crossing. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, at least 8 people, including 6 law enforcement personnel, were killed and many others injured on Saturday in a suicide attack targeting a police picket in Pakistan's rest of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. The blast took place at Aslam checkpost in Mir Ali Tehsil of the North Waziristan tribal district bordering Afghanistan. Riding 3-wheelers, the bombers hit the checkpost and vehicles of the security forces, killing 4 police personnel, 2 soldiers and 2 civilians. And Pakistan has announced that it has requested an additional 10 billion yuan, that's $1.4 billion loan from China, highlighting the ongoing external financing challenges Islamabad still faces. Finance Minister Mohammad Aurangzeb met with China's Vice Minister of Finance Liao Min and requested the Chinese side to raise the limits under the currency swap agreement to 40 billion CNY. This is according to a late-night statement from the Ministry of Finance of Pakistan, and it has already used the existing 30 billion CNY, that's $4.3 billion Chinese trade facility to repay the debts, and now seeks to raise this limit by an additional 10 billion CNY, translating to $1.4 billion at the current exchange rate. Now let's talk about Pakistan's fate here, which is in a pincer grip of economic distress and terrorism, and of course a general state of decline in society as well. We have TCA Raghavan with us, former Indian High Commissioner to Pakistan. Ambassador, what do you make of what's happening in Pakistan? Because it seems that the situation could come to a head anytime in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and in Balochistan. It could even slip out of Pakistan's grip at some point. Is that a possibility with the way things are going?
Well, it is true that for the past 4 years or so, Pakistan has been in the grip of what we can loosely term as being a multi-sectoral crisis. This is a number of crisis vectors which have intersected and created a situation for which there are no easy answers. So there is an internal security crisis, and that is the symptoms of that are numerous terrorist attacks, including of the kind your report mentioned. There is a very serious economic crisis, and one symptom of that is the external financing gap which exists. But there's also a deep political crisis in the form of polarization, because the principal political leader of Pakistan, Imran Khan, continues to be in jail. And there are other symptoms of that crisis, such as the emerging conflict between the judiciary and the other arms of the government. Put together, this is a situation in which a number of crisis vectors, as I said, have intersected together. The internal security crisis in the form of terrorist attacks in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and in Balochistan is possibly the most demoralizing for the public amongst all of these. Now, there is no easy answer, as I said, to any of these crisis vectors, and frankly, none of the political parties in Pakistan presently appear to have the bandwidth to address these issues, quite apart from the civil-military problems and tensions which exist. But to answer your question that whether the situation can slip out of control or whether Pakistan could be heading for some kind of implosion point, in my view, that is an unlikely scenario. The fact is, Pakistan has been facing such crisis vectors for a very long period of time. And despite the very serious impact they have, at no stage has it appeared that the situation is something which Pakistan's military authorities or its state cannot control.
Right. Now, for that you need resources, and do you think as long as it keeps finding sustenance, and I'm not just talking about the IMF, there's of course the China factor, there are these Gulf countries as well, which Pakistan seems to be able to reach out to every now and then when it needs sustenance and some kind of bailing out. Do you think they would continue to do that as well and not think that at some point Pakistan is more of a liability than an asset?
Well, there is a general sense of growing exasperation with the continuous demands which emerge from Pakistan to bail it out. There's no doubt about that. But the fact is, and this is something most countries realize, that Pakistan is the fourth or fifth largest country in the world. It has a huge population. It has nuclear weapons. It's situated in a very sensitive geopolitical location. It is in nobody's interest for a country such as Pakistan to break up or to implode or for things to spin out of control. If we look at it purely from an Indian perspective, we would not certainly like to see a Sudan-type situation where there is a full-scale civil war taking place to happen in Pakistan. So the fact is, most of Pakistan's neighbors...
But isn't a civil war already unfolding in a sense? The TTP itself is 60 million strong, I believe.
Well, some of these reports are exaggerated.
Okay.
And while this internal security crisis is quite serious, I think to term it as a civil war would be perhaps an amplification or an exaggeration of the situation. Pakistan faces, as I said, a number of very, very serious crisis vectors, but that the country will implode on account of that, I think is a very unlikely possibility.
Mm-hmm. And do you see a way out of it in some way, in some amount of time? I mean, where does one start to put the first stitch in place?
Well, I think Pakistan has to go back to the drawing board and rethink some of its fundamental positions. One critical factor is that they must recognize that they can't continue to give support to radical terrorist groups and expect that they will remain insulated from the impact of these groups. What they are facing today in terms of the TTP blowback or the action by other extremists and terrorist groups is largely a consequence of their own policies with regard to encouraging these groups and using them to attain objectives of their foreign policy through them. So the TTP situation in which they find themselves presently is because of their adventurous policies in Afghanistan for a very long period of time. Other terrorist groups which they have nurtured for use against India similarly have there's been a blowback from them also in the past from time to time. So for a start, I think Pakistan has to rethink this policy of using terrorist groups for attaining foreign policy objectives.
Yes, if it does that, it will be a good beginning. Thank you so much for joining us, Ambassador Raghavan. Now, India is making rapid strides in the field of animation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during the 115th episode of Mann Ki Baat radio program, urged people to resolve to make India a global animation powerhouse. Speaking about self-reliance, Prime Minister Modi called upon people to share examples of innovation and Atmanirbhar Bharat or self-reliant India on social media as well.
The country is moving rapidly towards becoming self-reliant in every sector. New India is strongly facing every challenge, riding on the new slogan of Atmanirbhar Bharat or self-reliant India. Now every citizen of the country is looking at every challenge in the form of opportunity and achieving new milestones through innovation. Animation is one such sector where the country is rapidly moving ahead through the use of new technology. Due to the rapid expansion of gaming space, Indian games are gaining popularity all over the world. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during the 115th episode of Mann Ki Baat program, urged people to resolve to make India a global animation powerhouse.
आज हमारे युवा ओरिजिनल इंडियन कंटेंट जिसमें हमारी संस्कृति की झलक होती है वो तैयार कर रहे हैं। इन्हें दुनिया भर में देखा जा रहा है। एनिमेशन सेक्टर आज एक ऐसी इंडस्ट्री का रूप ले चुका है कि जो दूसरी इंडस्ट्रीज को ताकत दे रहा है। जैसे इन दिनों वीआर टूरिज्म बहुत फेमस हो रहा है। इसलिए मैं भारत के युवाओं से कहूंगा, अपनी क्रिएटिविटी को विस्तार दे। क्या पता दुनिया का अगला सुपरहिट एनिमेशन आपके कंप्यूटर से निकले। इसी 28 अक्टूबर को यानी कल वर्ल्ड एनिमेशन डे भी मनाया जाएगा। आइए हम भारत को ग्लोबल एनिमेशन पावर हाउस बनाने का संकल्प लें।
Prime Minister underlined that India is doing wonders in every sector after becoming self-reliant.
आत्मनिर्भर हो रहा भारत हर सेक्टर में कमाल कर रहा है। आप सोचिए, एक जमाने में मोबाइल फोन इंपोर्ट करने वाला भारत आज दुनिया का दूसरा सबसे बड़ा मैन्युफैक्चरर बन गया है। कभी दुनिया में सबसे ज्यादा डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट खरीदने वाला भारत आज 85 देशों को एक्सपोर्ट भी कर रहा है। स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजी में भारत आज चंद्रमा के साउथ पोल पर पहुंचने वाला पहला देश बना है। और एक बात तो मुझे सबसे ज्यादा अच्छी लगती है, वो ये है कि आत्मनिर्भरता का ये अभियान अब सिर्फ सरकारी अभियान नहीं है। अब आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान एक जन अभियान बन रहा है। हर क्षेत्र में उपलब्धियां हासिल कर रहे हैं।
Prime Minister urged people to share examples of innovations and Atmanirbhar Bharat on social media. He asked them to shop during this festive season with the mantra of vocal for local. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, India has been plagued by thousands of cases of digital arrest scams involving the affluent and even the educated. And in a country with nearly 700 million smartphone users, the rate of cybercrimes has been skyrocketing. Now, in his monthly Mann Ki Baat address, Prime Minister Modi highlighted steps for digital safety. He also encouraged using hashtag Safe Digital India on social media to raise awareness about cybersecurity.
The digital arrest scam is a rising threat in India, with scammers using fear tactics to exploit victims. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his address, introduced 3 essential steps for digital safety, urging everyone to remain vigilant.
पहले चरण में मैंने कहा रुको, दूसरे चरण में मैंने कहा सोचो, और तीसरा चरण कहता हूं एक्शन लो। राष्ट्रीय साइबर हेल्पलाइन 1930 डायल करें, cybercrime.gov.in पर रिपोर्ट करें, परिवार और पुलिस को सूचित करें, सबूत सुरक्षित रखें, रुको, बाद में सोचो और फिर एक्शन लो। ये 3 चरण आपकी डिजिटल सुरक्षा का रक्षक बनेंगे।
Prime Minister Modi emphasized that both the central and state governments are working together to combat these cyber crimes. He highlighted the establishment of the National Cyber Coordination Center to enhance coordination among government agencies and appeal to the public to help spread awareness.
डिजिटल अरेस्ट के नाम पर जो फरेब चल रहा है, उससे निपटने के लिए तमाम जांच एजेंसियां राज्य सरकारों के साथ मिलकर काम कर रही है। इन एजेंसियों में तालमेल बनाने के लिए नेशनल साइबर कोऑर्डिनेशन सेंटर की स्थापना की गई है। डिजिटल अरेस्ट के नाम पर हो रहे स्कैम से बचने के लिए बहुत जरूरी है हर किसी की जागरूकता। आप जागरूकता के लिए हैशटैग सेफ डिजिटल इंडिया का प्रयोग कर सकते हैं।
Prime Minister Modi urged school and college administrations to involve students in this awareness drive. He encouraged sharing information related to cyber safety through social media. He appealed to all sections of society to come together and join the mission to prevent cyber fraud. Bureau Report, DD India.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar addressed a press conference on Sunday in Mumbai, in Maharashtra. Dr. Jaishankar said that the disengagement of troops in Depsang and Demchok is the first step according to the agreement which was struck on the 21st of this month. He said that once the status before 2020 is restored, de-escalation would follow mutually. And lastly, India will move towards robust management of the line of actual control, which is the de facto border between India and China.
जो सहमति जो बनी थी, उस सहमति इस बात पे बनी थी कि 2 जगह माने देपसांग और डेमचोक जो लद्दाख में सबसे नॉर्थ में है, वहाँ जो पेट्रोलिंग पे जो पहले जो बाधाएं लगी थी, अब उस पे सहमति बनी है और उस जगह में 2020 की जो पेट्रोलिंग जो थी पहले, हमारी अपेक्षा है कि उसी पेट्रोलिंग की स्थिति में हम लोग वापस जाएंगे। तो अभी जो मैं कहूँगा, हम डिसएंगेजमेंट को इसका कंप्लीशन ये पहला चरण है। इसके बाद डीएस्केलेशन की बात करेंगे और पेट्रोलिंग स्थिरता के साथ पेट्रोलिंग कैसे करें उस पर भी बात आगे होगी, तो वो आगे का विषय।
And India's Foreign Minister further said that India, Middle East, Europe corridor, that's the EMEC, aims to create a comprehensive transportation network, and Maharashtra would be the leading beneficiary of this project.
There is an initiative called IMEC, India Middle East Economic Corridor. Okay, India Middle East Economic Corridor, from India will take a corridor across Arabian Sea to Gulf, through Gulf, Mediterranean to Europe. It is today the most talked about connectivity corridor in the world. Where will be the main Indian interface be? State of Maharashtra. Therefore, where will the maximum investment on ports and logistics come? State of Maharashtra. If ports come, what will you need? You will need roads and railways. Where will they come? State of Maharashtra. So I think this will, there is a lot today which Maharashtra can gain from this situation.
Now, India's Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurated new passenger terminal building and a cargo gate named Maitri Dwar or Friendship Door at the land port in Petrpol, West Bengal on Sunday. The 60,000 square meter passenger terminal is built at an estimated cost of 450 crore INR and will feature a modern airport style design with the capacity to process over 20,000 passengers every day. The land port of Petrpol is the largest land port in South Asia, designed to facilitate smoother movement between India and Bangladesh.
लैंड पोर्ट अथॉरिटी, इसका कंसेप्ट ही मोदी जी ने बदला। पहले इसको एक व्यापार का साधन मानते थे, अब समृद्धि और शांति का एक द्वार बनकर रहा है। हमारे पड़ोसी राष्ट्रों से हमें जोड़ने का काम कर रहा है। हमारे वैध व्यापार को बढ़ावा देकर अवैध व्यापार को, स्मगलिंग को रोकने का काम कर रहा है।
And still to come on DD India News Hour, a unique Diwali Mela of Fate showcasing talent displayed by visually impaired students.
Who will be the next president of United States of America?
Will Donald Trump make a dramatic comeback, or will Kamala Harris become America's first woman president?
It's a tight race to the White House.
The knives are out and the battle lines sharply drawn.
He's becoming increasingly unstable and unhinged.
She's a threat to democracy because she shouldn't even be the candidate.
I'm Amritpal Singh.
I'm Shubhendu Ghosh.
We travel across the United States
to decode the issues at the heart of this polarized election.
Watch this space only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, the air quality worsened in New Delhi on Sunday with the air quality index, that's AQI, being recorded at 352 in the very poor category, according to the System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research, that's SAFAR. Now, this is worse than the average AQI recorded at 255 on Saturday, categorized as poor. AQI at the Akshardhan temple deteriorated to 261, whereas at the IGI airport, it was recorded at 324, both categorized as very poor. Residents complained of breathing difficulties due to the haze and the worsening of air quality in India's capital ahead of the Festival of Lights, Diwali. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz visited Goa as part of his official trip to India, accompanied by senior cabinet ministers on Sunday. Upon arrival at INS Hansa, he was greeted by various officials, including India's Minister of State of Defence Sanjay Seth and Chief Minister of Goa Pramod Sawant. During his visit, Scholz engaged with state and Indian Navy officials and toured the German Navy ship FGS Frankfurt am Main, which recently completed maritime partnership exercises with the Indian Navy. Later, a German delegation led by State Secretary Niels Hilmer was hosted on board the indigenous aircraft carrier INS Vikrant. The 17th Urban Mobility India Conference and Expo concluded on Sunday in Gujarat's Gandhinagar. India's Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, with support of the government of Gujarat, conducted 3 days conference between the 25th to the 27th of this month. This year, the conference focused on the theme of standardization and optimization of urban transport solutions. Various technical sessions and roundtable discussions were conducted for optimizing urban mobility. At the closing ceremony of the Housing and Urban Affairs Minister Manohar Lal Khattar attended the event and said that in the next 5 years, the length of Indian metro will be ranked second in the world.
तो ये 17th अर्बन मोबिलिटी कॉन्फ्रेंस जो अभी गांधीनगर में आज संपन्न हुई है, 3 दिन के इस सेशन में बहुत से स्टेक होल्डर्स, गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स और जितने भी हमारे प्राइवेट पार्टनर्स हैं, जितने टेक्नोलॉजी वाले लोग हैं, स्कॉलर्स हैं, ऑल द स्टेक होल्डर्स कंसर्न, ये 3 दिन बैठ करके उन्होंने इस विषय को बहुत चर्चा की है। आज हम जानते हैं कि मेट्रो जहां तक कंसर्न है, हमारे देश की मेट्रो की जो लेंथ है, लेंथ वाइज वी आर एट 3rd place in the world. First is China, second is USA, and we are at 3rd place. In next coming 5 years, we will be number 2 in the world. We will surpass USA even.
In Bangladesh, 6 more deaths were reported due to dengue in 24 hours till Sunday morning, raising the total fatalities from the mosquito-borne disease to 277 this year. In the recent fatalities, 2 were reported in the urban areas, while 4 were reported in rural areas. During this period, 1,248 additional patients were hospitalized with viral fever. Of these, 445 dengue patients were admitted in Dhaka itself. Currently, 3,984 patients are receiving treatment in various hospitals across the country. Since the 1st of January this year, a total of 56,911 dengue cases have been reported. In a celebration of India's cultural diversity, the Embassy of India's inaugural Pravasi Parichaya Festival has successfully united the Indian diaspora in Saudi Arabia. Launched in partnership with local Indian associations and the Ministry of External Affairs' Diaspora Engagement Division, the cultural carnival drew over 450 performers from 14 Indian states. The festival transformed into a grand spectacle of India's cultural mosaic, with each participating state establishing dedicated pavilions showcasing their distinctive art, cuisine and traditions. State pavilions offered visitors an immersive experience into regional cultures, serving as cultural bridges for the Indian community in Saudi Arabia. China's industrial profits plunged in September, recording the steepest monthly decline of the year. That's what official data showed on Sunday. Profits in September fell 27.1% from a year earlier, following a 17.8% fall in August, while earnings slipped 3.5% in the first 9 months versus a 0.5% rise in January to August period, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Excuse me. Now, China's economy grew at the lowest and slowest pace since early 2023 in the 3rd quarter. Now, in the spirit of Diwali, a heartwarming initiative by the Blind Relief Association in New Delhi is showing how true light shines from within. Their Diwali Mela offers more than just festive shopping. It's an inspiring showcase of self-reliance and talent displayed by the visually impaired. Here's a report by DD India's correspondent Preeti Vadhera.
From hand-painted candles to eco-friendly bags, pouches and delicate paper mache items, every product at this festive market is crafted by visually impaired students. These items reflect their skill, dedication and creativity, while also highlighting how art has empowered these individuals.
I should say that it is not Blind Relief's Mela, it is entire Delhi's Mela. The main objective is to show the capabilities of the persons whom we train. And one of the most important product, or one of the prominent product, is the candles, and which is associated with Diwali. What better product could be? And over the year, the range of products that our trainees make has increased substantially.
The fair has also set up special food counters where the visually impaired students serve a range of Diwali treats. This involvement goes beyond creating items here. They gain confidence and independence, running their own food stalls with a sense of pride and accomplishment.
हमने मेले की तैयारी की, क्या क्या हमें मेले पे देना है, फिर हमने वो सब कुछ तैयार किया। जैसे सैंडविच है, बर्गर है, ओपन और क्या कहते हैं मोमोज हैं, पनीर वाले, वेज वाले, कप नूडल्स हैं, और हमने चॉकलेट खुद से बनाई थी, कुकीज़ भी अपने आप से बना कर तैयार की थी।
हमने बनाए पेपर हैंड बैग, एनवलप और उसका नाम है बिग बैग। जो पेपर का जो सारा आइटम है वो हम बनाते हैं।
मैम मेले की तैयारी हम लोगों ने किया है, पेपर बैग गिफ्ट के लिए, कैमस बैग और हमने 19 कार्ड बनाया हमने। मुझे बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है। मेले की तैयारी होने के बाद हमने यहाँ पे सेल भी कर रहे हैं, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है। जैसे कि हम यहाँ पर सेल कर रहे हैं, मुझे लग रहा है कि हम कोई बिजनेस कर रहे हैं।
मैंने जिप पाउच बनाया, पोटली बैग बनाया और इंट्रोएटिव वाले बैग भी बनाया, प्रिंटेड वाले भी बैग बनाया। हमको 1 महीना हो गया वो मेला लगाते हुए। मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है कि ब्लाइंड लोगों की चीज़ दुनिया भर की लोगों पे जा रही है।
Another highlight of this Diwali Mela is the massage booth where trained visually impaired individuals are providing massages. This opportunity not only strengthens their self-reliance but also builds their professional skills, promoting financial independence in a unique hands-on way.
This Diwali Mela of Blind Relief Association here at New Delhi is not just a festive market, rather it's a beacon of hope, inclusivity and of course empowerment. So this festive season, let us all celebrate the spirit of Diwali with a noble cause. With camera person Yogesh, I am Kriti Vadhera reporting from New Delhi for DD India.
And on that uplifting note, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.